Welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate Investing, the show where real estate investors get real results. This isn't fluff. This is where your strategy meets your soul and where we cut through the noise. We talk to pros in the trenches and we bring experts who could actually help you move the needle in your business. If you're ready to grow your portfolio, protect your wealth, and build a lifestyle that you don't need a vacation from, then you're in the right place. I'm Debbie Balfour. If you don't already know, I'm a real estate investor and I'm a real estate investing success coach and your guide to turning your strategy into freedom. I help real estate investors like yourself create personalized real estate investing roadmaps and streamline your systems so that you can start scaling without the stress. Because here's the truth, real estate investing isn't cookie cutter. It isn't at all. It's about you. Your plan should be built around you, your strengths, your lifestyle, and your legacy. So if you're ready to stop playing small and start investing like you really mean it, then hit the subscribe button, drop a like, and let's dive in. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming Kelly Wheadon as my special guest. Kelly is a holistic wealth consultant. He's a best-selling co-author of Money Connector, Wealth Builder, and Dream Achiever. Kelly is on a path to making big changes in the world. He's been telling me how busy he is today. But then he wants to do these changes in the world by creating a safe space for people to open up about finances, mindset, struggles, and more. I know for most people, finances is so taboo. It's something they don't want to talk to others about, and they don't even want to even think about it sometimes for themselves. So wealth is, however, on the top of mind for many people, and it's not just about money. So Kelly helps people protect themselves and their families with the right insurance, helps families to get in a better financial shape, and helps parents to set their kids up for their future by providing a strategy and an education arena to learn for themselves. So he's going to teach them also how to fish rather than fishing for them. So Kelly has been a keynote speaker on several podcasts and has written several magazine articles. So I'm really excited to have Kelly here today. And our topic will be around finding your wealth, which as real estate investors, we want to find wealth wherever we can. We know that millionaires have 7 sources of income or more. So I'm really excited about this topic. But before we dive in, let's get to know Kelly a little bit more. Kelly, can you tell us a bit about your journey and what you're passionate about?
Well, thank you so much, Debbie, and it's an honor and a privilege to be on your podcast here today. I came from a small town in northern BC, and my dad was hardworking in the oil field, and that's to me where I thought the money was, and where the hard work was, and I also didn't want to be away from my family. All of these things were playing my mind is how do I make money and how do I work hard and how do I do all of these different things while also maybe not even being confident enough in myself, thinking I wasn't smart enough to do certain things. Many people might feel like that as well. I bought my first home when I was 23 years old. I thought that was pretty good. But what happened in the midst of all of that too is I was around a group of people that was either going to take me somewhere or hold me back. So they always say in any type of thing, it's your top 5 people you hang around with. And what I was finding is I was being more socializing than I was working, if that makes sense. So when I sold my house, what I did in that time, buy a new truck.
No.
Instead of, maybe buying another property, different things, but I was caught up with what was going on around me. I moved up to Fort Nelson, BC, which was a very small community. But I bought a trailer up there, and I paid $153,000 for it. But it was on its own property, it's on its own land. But then I sold it a year later for $193,000. Then I moved to Edmonton, and got some things happening here, and then I started diving a little bit more into real estate. But I always still worked oil and gas because I just knew hard work. But there's hard work then there's smart work. And what I was noticing is I was just being distracted. I was being distracted. And, when we start talking about, personal development and personal growth, that's what we're all here for. That's why people are plugging into these podcasts is how to grow, how do I get better, how do I do things faster? And what I started to realize was there's definitely different ways to be doing things, or how do we improve things that are working. And so this is my own self journey too in all of this, is truly trying to figure out who is Kelly, and am I a real estate investor, am I a wealth management person? But when it really comes down to it, I'm just a person of service. So being a person of service is, how do I help people connect to each other? How do I help people connect to their money? When I started realizing I wanted money, I wanted these big elaborate things in my 20s, to things changed in my 30s, to now, okay, I'm not in my 30s anymore. But what are the things we want? And I like what you said, is real estate in itself, or wealth building in itself, is about who you are, who you want, what do you want? Because with that, you can then customize a plan built around that, whether it's investing in the stock markets, investing into real estate, investing in yourself. There's key things that are in kind of all of these different areas, but when it comes to real estate, there's the, the Burr method, there's flips, and there's all of these different things, and everybody wants to do everything. I want the multifamily, I want the single family, I don't want condos, I want condos. But what truly is it that you want? What is your plan? What is your outcome? What is your input into these things that will help you decide what strategy is going to be best for you?
Definitely. And it's not just about, when we talk real estate investing, it's not just about like the actual strategy. Oh, yes, I'm going to do buy and holds. But there's so much more. Like, where are you going to get that money? What's your strategy for getting money? What's your, who are your tenants are going to be? Like, all of these things. Are you going to have partners? Like, what do you like to do? How much of the work are you going to do? All of these different things make your strategy. And I always talk to people about, from real estate investing, similar to, you need to understand you as a real estate investor, just as a financial analyst will work with that person to understand what their goals, what their long-term goals are, to all of those things. Same thing with real estate.
And mindset around all of it. So I've always used the analogy is, we've all used a butter knife as a screwdriver. We all have. We all know we have. And everyone's like shaking their heads going, oh my gosh, yes, I've done that. It works, but it's not the right tool. So when it comes to money, money is a tool, and how you use it, but how you think about it will also affect your deals. How you think about your tenants will also affect things. Because if you're thinking, oh man, tenants they ruin my place all the time, this is all that they do, well, then you're actually going to attract things like that. You're going to attract, not necessarily failures. Failures just, you know what, that didn't work. That scenario didn't work. How do I improve that? But when we can actually look at things and feel good about what we're doing, that will change everything. So when it comes to wealth building, that's not just always monetary money in hand. It could be anything. It could be a free dishwasher. That's building wealth for your rental property. I was kind of like, it was really funny. Little story here is, I was like, do I want to get another Keurig? I don't want to spend the money on pods. I need a coffee pot. It was something so funny about this. But I attracted it because I actually had someone in my office packing up some stuff and moving some stuff. And she had this little four-pot coffee pot. And I said, what are you doing with that? She's like, actually, I'm throwing it out. I'm like, does it work? She goes, yeah. And I'm like, I'll take it off your hands. And I'm like, then I started thinking, like, I said right down there, I'm so happy, thankful, and grateful for this, because it is money to me. It's money I didn't have to spend. So it's money I'm saving. Little things like that to actually start even just saying, I'm so thankful for that. I'm thankful I got a discount on this. I'm so thankful that I found a dime on the ground. I attract money wherever I go. It sounds silly, but people do it, and that's what works. But what happens is we stop doing the things that worked. Like we talk about reading your goals or reading the things that you want or your plan. You do it to a certain point until you get the thing, and then you stop doing it. And then you wonder why things aren't working.
And then it's almost like we start sabotaging ourselves. Yeah. Yep. It goes like, it starts going backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, that's so true. So
For
tell me,
anybody,
like our topic is finding wealth. So let's get into that. I think this is where we're going with this
Mhm.
conversation. So how do we find wealth? Where do we find it?
Okay, first, this is going to be so crazy for people to actually think this. You got to find the wealth within you. So, with that, you have to feel that you deserve it. You have to feel that you deserve being wealthy. But then you also have to describe what is wealthy to you. Is wealthy a bunch of money? Is wealthy a bunch of properties? Is wealthy your health? Is wealthy your relationships? Is
Is wealthy your
wealthy
time?
is wealthy of your time. So
Mhm.
you need to actually get clear on these things to determine what wealth is to you, because that is the major starting point. If we've ever talked about budgeting, budgeting is all about where you are today to help you get to where you want to be tomorrow. So without knowing what your mindset is around money or wealth, so I've had conversations with people, this one lady, and she's just like, you know what? People who have money, they're just arrogant. They're this, they're that, they're just corrupt. And I'm like, you know what? And that, unfortunately, we'll say is societal movies have created that. And I said, but what would you do if you had money? Oh, I would, I would donate here. I would do this. I would do that. I said, okay, so you're not a corrupt person. So money's not going to do that to you. So I said, you got to start thinking, what would you do with that money? Now it also comes down to with that wealth, is that wealth for you as or for others?
Mm.
Because that also determines a lot of things too. Yes, there's the main core needs that we need. We need foundations, we need food, we need clothing, we need structure, a home. Those are like the core things, but we also want to be part of community. We also want to be valued. And when it comes to wealth, is that part of it? For my wife and I, it's like, what are our plans? What do we want? Travel, but what does that look like? Doesn't mean we're going to go spend thousands and thousands of dollars. I'm still going to be like trying to get the best deal ever. But it's sometimes just that freedom to go, I want to be able to buy groceries and
Mhm.
buy organic and not bat an eye that prices have gone.
At the prices.
I want to be able to, if a family member came up to me and needed a little bit of money because of something, I want to be able to do that for them. So that's for me, but that might not be for the next person. So getting clear in that area, and sometimes it's sitting down with someone so that they can ask the question. So like, so Debbie, tell me what does wealth look like to you? Well, I want to be able to travel. Okay, well, what does travel look like?
How many times a year are you going
How
first
many times
class?
a year?
My son hates traveling. Well, he loves traveling, the destinations, but he hates the flying. So he wants to be able to go first class.
So being able to determine what does it look like to then what does it feel like?
Mm.
So for many people, if you're about energy and vibration and frequencies, it's like what we want is it kind of like it's the vibration out, but it's the feeling is the magnetic to bring it back. And
Mhm.
that's sometimes where that disconnect is. That's why they always talk about visualization. Visualize what you want. Feel what it would be like if you were to travel and what are the smells around you when you get to the beach and things like that. So when it comes to real estate, have you visualized how many doors you want? Have you visualized what kind of tenants you want? Have you, and it sounds for those that want to say the woo woo or whatever it is, but it's what's working for high achievers.
Definitely. And I don't believe, and it's not woo-woo. So I just showed you, Kelly, my backdrop. So I'm in my, and I am in my vacation home with a gorgeous view, panoramic view of the lake. And in 2020, I actually didn't like in 2020 when COVID started, we were locked down. Right. And I had just started real estate investing. And I thought in 10 years, I'm going to get a vacation property. So that was my goal in 10 years. And then, the lockdowns continued and we couldn't travel. And I was like, I need one now. Like, I can't wait 10 years. What can I do? And one morning I woke up and go, Debbie, this is what you do. Right? You invest in real estate, get a property, bring that goal forward. Why does it have to be in 10 years? Why can't you start enjoying it now? And then have other people help you pay for it. But I actually manifested that view. Like I knew, I pictured exactly what I wanted, what it needed to look like outside my home. And I got it. It's just like,
Exactly. That's exactly what we have to be thinking about. So you had a timeline. You said in 10 years. Perfect. So you started putting that out there. You started planting the seed. But then when we're planting the seed, how are we nourishing it? How are we helping it grow to then it's never going to be perfect, but what's perfect is you start.
Yeah. I had a 10-year goal, but I made it I got it in 1 year. So,
Exactly.
it's amazing how just starting to set that goal and you want it so much. It's like, I can't wait 10 years. Now I have that goal. I can't wait 10 years. I want it now.
And that's where true wealth comes in, is being able to, okay, wealth is also discipline. Discipline comes to doing the things you said you're going to do. So whether it's as simple as I'm going to drink, a liter or 4 liters of water a day, that's a commitment you've made to yourself. Or I'm going to start saving $25 a month. Or I'm just going to start, if anybody's ever read the book The Latte Factor and people wonder where their money's going, it's
Very
unfortunate. It's
lattes.
going to these. That's why I go to Tim Hortons now. It's cheaper, but it's if we focus on that. Or I'm an insurance specialist. I help people with either their joint venturing on properties to, how do you build your wealth through your life insurance plans as well. But what I was finding is some people like, I can't afford it. I can't afford $50, $60, $100. I said, okay, I'm going to do an analogy with you. Do you have Disney Plus? Do you have Crave? Do you have Netflix? Do you pay for the full packages so you don't have the ads and all of that? Because right there, those three things are about $20 each. That's $60. That is most insurance plans.
And it doesn't help you build wealth.
No.
And it doesn't protect you. Yeah.
So if you don't want to give up the Netflix or things like that, okay, but then do the cheaper version, the one
Live
that,
with
that
the
has
ads.
the ads. Allow, because it was funny. My wife's like, remember when we used to have commercials? That was the time we would go get a snack or go to the washroom. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And we're so fixated on the microwave society where it's like, we want it now.
Instant.
We want the instant gratification. What if we actually just allowed ourselves, allow ourselves to have freedom, allowed ourselves to do the work, allowed ourselves to accept the good things that are coming to us, and then all of a sudden be like, I deserve this. I can have this. And that starts to change. And that becomes a ripple effect. So that you do start attracting those different things. I've told people like, hey, look, I can show you some incredible investments that can get you some great rate of returns or some, let's just say moderate rate of return just to have safety. But if you don't have a good association when it comes to money or the thought processes around it, you will always see the dips. You will always see the bad things that happen.
You'll always have that fear that's stopping you.
Right. Real estate and the stock markets always go up and down. That is time and time again. It always goes ups and down. So knowing that allows you to prepare for it. That's why they say multiple streams of income, because when one thing goes down, something else is going up. So you need to be in multiple things to protect the ups and downs.
Definitely.
And that's kind of where
diversification is important, even in your real estate investing. So not have everything in one particular asset, even within real estate investing. The same thing like you do in the stocks. You don't have it all in one company, one commodity, or those.
Yeah, you want like consumer staples, you want oil and gas, or do you want mining, or do you want like Tesla? Well, like what are all of these different aspects? From multifamily, do you have a bunch of single family homes? Some single families work, some flips work, some buy and holds work. A fourplex, if it's under one contract, that's one door, even though there might be four doors on the property. And that's what also helps you get mortgages depending on that. And then it comes down to like, as a self-employed person, how do you make yourself look good on paper? And maybe you need to do that for a couple of years to then be able to get the next mortgage to then, okay, give yourself less money so that you pay less taxes later on. But then there's also tax strategies through insurances or the disability tax credit or what other tax credits are available to then, depending on what you want to do with real estate, you might be eligible for grants. So that all of these things, this is where the wealth comes in. Or are you joint venturing with people? To then, are you using other people's money? There's so many things.
Definitely. And I think there's something you said earlier about the coffee maker analogy got to me, is that it's not just about, so you can earn money in two ways. You can earn money by creating more revenue, right? Or you can earn money by reducing how much you're paying out. And when you think about that, that's money in your pocket too. So what are some techniques? You talked about tax planning, disability, so what are some techniques that people can start looking at or using so that they can be spending, they're having less expenses and they don't have to, if you can't at this time generate more income, what are some techniques? What are some things they can do?
There's a lot of things. So one, I'm a big advocate for the disability tax credit. Now, this is something that people, maybe if you have severe sleep apnea, severe arthritis, diabetic, things like that, there's tax credits available. So each person's situation is going to be different. An incredible website is called benefitswayfinder.org. That also helps you find some potential benefit packages, making sure you have a good accountant who is proactive. One that's not asking you what, they're the ones like, hey, you can write this off. Hey, did you know you could do this? Those are very, very important. If you're an employee, now being a real estate investor, you also have tax deductions. You don't have to have necessarily a numbered company, but you could be a sole proprietor. So all of these different avenues to look at. If you're caregiving actually for a senior or a loved one, there might be some potential benefits there. If you are self-employed, there are potential grants as well. I have an incredible grant writer that I can connect people with too. So all of these kind of different things, if you are a business owner too, is what taxes like insurances, benefits, things like that, that also can be tax deductions. So that will help you. We talk about buying things on sale. So when people are looking for real estate, you're looking for the foreclosures or you're looking for the lower price things. But when you're investing in the stock market, everybody wants the high price thing. And it's very interesting. Right now, yes, markets have dipped and they're all over the place right now. But it's a
Good time to buy in the stock market.
It's a good time to buy in the stock market. But it's also right now here in Edmonton, it is a seller's market. So there's multiple offers going on. So it's like invest over here with the stock markets. They go back up. Now you pull out money to be able to buy real estate when it goes down. They are always ebbing and flowing together. So I'll say sit down with someone who can help you strategize these things because not everyone can have the same plan.
Mm-hmm.
So I always base it in getting to know people kind of like where they're at so that I can start picking and choosing what areas might be able to help them out. Here's a simple thing too. Have a garage sale. How many things in your home have you not used in the last 6 months?
Do you know when I lost my home in the fire, when I went through our inventory, I had over 3,000 items on the inventory list. And this is not counting, 5 cutlery as in that. Cutlery was like, you count the X number of spoons. So that wasn't a line item. That was just like, like each individual. So this is like groups of stuff. I had over 3,000. Like you said, there's so much stuff that was still brand new.
Yep.
And never used.
So here's something for insurances. Take your phone or a video camera and go through your home. Don't write everything down, videotape it.
Because then it will prompt you, yeah, exactly. And you have proof for the insurance
And then you
company.
can save that on like a Google Drive or a OneDrive. At least then you have everything that was in your house. You have it filmed and what it was. And if you have price tags still on stuff too, return it. But there's things like that, things to be thinking about, how that's kind of like the generational wealth. Right now, we've got the baby boomers who are retiring. There's trillions of dollars of wealth that's going to be handed down, but the younger generation. So I would be considered the sandwich generation where I've got aging parents, but then there's young children around. So how do we navigate and help? Times have changed. People want different things. So we have to also navigate what people want right now. Some people want a family and they're not really caring, working hard and wanting the riches. And then we've got other people who they want to work hard and they want all this because they want to retire early. But what is retirement for people? Is it an amount of money or is it just
the lifestyle?
That is different. Some people like working. I always like to say is, when would you like to stop working for somebody else or work because you want to, not because you
work
have to?
Using your own passion, but then it's not work, right?
But it's not work.
It's like me with coaching. I can't see myself just like stopping coaching because it is something that I love. But I will take it to, if I move to Portugal, I can do it there. I can do it wherever I go.
So, I mean, there's so many things like, okay, what do we start? What podcast do we listen to? What books do we read? And I'll say, wherever you're at right now and what you're trying to learn about, that's what you start to follow on because everyone's got an opinion. Everyone's going to give advice. So if you are wanting to learn about real estate, you plug into real estate stuff and you take what you want to do. And then for me, I've started just to learn a lot of different things from communication to mindset to self-care. And sometimes that's where we have to start to build our wealth, have that strong foundation. We, like in the financial industry, we talk about your financial house. So the foundation, like when you're in real estate, you build a strong foundation. So you want to look at your life insurance, your critical illness, disability coverage, because you don't want to go through your savings if you got sick, injured, things like that. Then you worry about everything else. So we factor that in. And I mean, starting with the younger generation. I mean, we put insurance on our granddaughter. Most people are like, oh my gosh, insurance on children. I'm like, yeah, but you don't know what is happening to young adults these days. The recreational drug uses that can stop them getting life insurance. What about autism and special needs diagnosis at a young age? That will affect insurance. So just ensuring insurability, something I wish I would have thought about prior to. So I got into the financial industries when my sister passed away 11 years ago, and I saw what happens when you don't have a will. And I saw how things freeze, and you have property and what do all of these different things, and just how different insurances would have made at that time. So insurance is part of a financial plan. And if you are getting real estate, well, what are the things you're doing in place of what happens if something were to happen to you? It's not just about having multiple doors and then there's also being asset rich and cash poor.
Yep. Also, all of those have liability. Most of us don't just go out and buy it cash. So now you've got mortgages on there. What happens if something happens? Are you covered to be able to pay off that debt?
True exit strategy.
Yeah, if anything happens to you, definitely. So, where is wealth going? Where's our wealth going?
Our wealth is going in places we don't realize because we're not thinking about it, we're not focused on it. So we do need to know where our money is going. So I always say, start a spreadsheet or sit down with someone and go, okay, what's the income coming into my household to where is it going? So sometimes our money's going to as simple as how many subscriptions does a person have from this app to this meditation app to this podcast app to this app to this TV. Okay, there is money going out that baby you forgot that you got to.
Sometimes we get sucked in. We do those trial versions and we never remember to cancel it. Yeah. And we actually don't even use it.
So that's one. Start there. Get really streamlined on that. And I know we're all busy, but the problem is the busy is not being effective. We could simply work 4 hours a day and get a lot accomplished. So we need to know kind of where is our money going to: subscriptions, groceries, gas, where, we talk about where can we trim things, but people don't want to give up their lifestyle. But what lifestyle do you have that you're actually, let's just say, struggling to get out of it? And that's why you're wanting to generate this wealth. Well, if we can't make the decisions now, we won't make the decisions later on when we have money. So if we can't manage $100, we can't manage 1,000. If we can't manage 1,000, we can't manage 10. Where do we start? So it's about habit building. So what are our habits that are causing us to spend more money than we have? So look at your subscriptions. Look at, how much are we eating out? How much are we just, it's just a coffee a day, but are you getting a coffee and a muffin and a sandwich and this? I get it. You want to be able to enjoy life. We all do. But how important is the goal over here? So then it's like, what taxes are we paying? Is there ways to pay less tax? Do we take on second jobs? Or what about, self-employment, start our own businesses, things like that? Because that does generate some taxable write-offs, which could actually save you money in the long run. Yep. So being able to do things like that. When you're out and about and you have children and you're putting children in sports, utilize that time to network with people. Network with people.
Yeah.
Find out what other people are doing. You truly build your net worth through your network and those relationships and the connections that you build.
Sounds good. So something you were just saying, so some things for people to think about. You don't necessarily have to give up you can think creatively and you don't have to give up the lifestyle. Like if you like those fancy coffees, etc., what we did was we bought a good coffee machine, a really nice espresso coffee machine, and make it at home instead. Right now, like, yes, the outlay was like, $600, but multiply how many coffees that would be, when you're like, it's just a few months of coffees. And now you've got it for like, for a very long time. So it's things like that. You can definitely just kind of think creatively. How can I still get this lifestyle? I'm not compromising my lifestyle, but in a different way. So I'm not giving away money.
Imagine too, instead of meeting friends out, what about doing potlucks? What about, hey, let's go for a walk instead of going for coffee? Because then you don't spend the money on the coffee, bring your own coffee and go for a walk, then that's your health. Because that's another thing that's wealth. You need your health.
Yep.
Otherwise, your money's going to be going to prescriptions, medications, and all of these things that you need to be able to enjoy the wealth that you're creating.
Definitely.
We call that your financial health and your financial health credit and all that kind of stuff. So all of these things, and there really is no big secret. It's just the mundane day-to-day things. So what is distracting us from making money is all of the habitual things. So it could be how many people joined got a gym membership, and they're maybe paying $20, $30 a month, and they're not going. So focusing on all of those little things too is what little things can you change? Or if you're liking the way where things are at right now, maybe it could be just as simple as putting in a podcast or reading from good books like Simple Wealth, Inevitable Wealth, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'll say anything John Maxwell because that's all leadership. But there's all of these different things that you could be reading to then just change the way you think, to change
to level up.
Vocabulary. It increases your internal thermostat. So Ed Milet talked about this is your financial thermostat is, hey, if you're used to making $50,000 or $100,000 a year, that's your money identity. So if all of a sudden you dip down to 70,000 of income, you're like, you will work hard to get to 100, maybe 105, maybe 110. But all of a sudden, if you get above that, you literally start to self-sabotage yourself. You start to spend money, you start to do all of these things because you value yourself and your identity at $100,000. So if you start thinking about what does someone who makes $250 do? What does someone that makes $500,000 do? They're not necessarily spending money all the time, but they're being creative. They're being thoughtful. They're being focused. Those are the actions that wealthy people do. Definitely. So they look for ways to save money. They look for ways to invest in themselves or invest in something that's going to generate income. So those are the things that we need to be looking at too. It is so simple to go, I want to start a business. I want to do this. But then you have someone who's like, oh, you'll never make it. Oh, that's not going to work for you. So you need to be around people who are actually going to uplift you. People that are going to be like, you know what? That is a crazy idea. How do we make that happen? Instead of that's a crazy idea, it'll never work. I think if you can think it was placed on your heart to do. We just got to figure out how to make it happen.
Yeah, make it broad and make it very open. I think that goal set, sometimes we set these goals with financial ones, and that's the problem. We say it becomes hard and fast. Like this year, I just said, I have to generate, this is my income generating year. Last year was my building year. It feels like yesterday. It's already like near the end of April. But last year was my building year. This year is my income generating year. So I didn't really put too much of an amount or a how or things in it. I have some ideas like my investments, my coaching, but I've opened myself up and I've had people coming, Debbie, I want to work with you, but not on like, I want to JV with you, but not on real estate. It's like, I want to JV. You're so good at doing events or you're arranging things and you're good at the coach. Like I want to, partner with you on this. You've got a great network. I want to partner with you on this. I've been asked to partner on a platform for crowdfunding. And this is all just because I've I haven't actually said I'm going to be generating income from my real estate investments or just from my coaching. It was I am generating income this year, a lot
You need
of
to
it.
allow yourself to be open to the possibilities. You can still say no to certain things that could generate
Exactly.
you money because you know what,
It's
that's not
not
aligned on where I'm
fitting.
going.
Or it's maybe later, but I've got too much on my plate right now.
Yeah,
That's another
that
thing,
could be a
the shiny
distraction.
object. Yeah.
So
So
there's
what
so
books
many
are you
things.
reading right now, Kelly?
I'm actually reading Psycho-Cybernetics. So that's a great one by Maxwell Maltz. So I'm actually doing a workbook on that. I will highly recommend Think and Grow Rich. Reread it. And don't just read to read. Read to study. Read to implement. You know, in school we were taught to read a subject, take an exam, and then never follow back. But if we actually just went into something and go, how can I implement this? What am I learning from this? And you know what? Here's something crazy. Read the same pages for 7 days in a row. Read one chapter for a week. How crazy is that? Most people kind of like, why would I do that? Because each day you are a different person. You're going to take something out
It's out
reading
of that.
differently.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you go into it with this curiosity of like, what is this really being said? How can I really implement it? The science of getting rich is another one because there's a science behind it.
Mhm.
We are all, let's just say we're all born wealthy. We've just got to make it happen.
Yep. Very true.
We are entitled to it,
Yeah.
but we've just got to allow ourselves, believe in it, and then do the work to get there. So those are the couple books that I'm reading right now. There's also 365 Days of Leadership by John Maxwell. So I just read one page a day.
You like John Maxwell?
Yes,
It's an
yeah,
author.
I've read a lot of John Maxwell. Gosh, I've got a bookshelf behind me here. There's so many different things I've read from like self-care, leadership to communication, and each time I read it, it's different. And I mean, I went through and I think I read, I don't remember, I think it was 50 books in one year, to tell you the truth. Whatever I read, it was about getting the books done. So that's why I'm saying it's so
It's
important to
read and implement. Yeah.
read one book a year. Like read one book, study it, review it. So that's why I'm reading Think and Grow Rich again.
Mhm.
And then do the workbooks. Do the time. I'll say in my business, the hardest work is that internal work. Real estate, same thing. The hardest work is that internal work of being able to manage your emotions, being able to understand what happens to you when something doesn't go your way, when a tenant moves out.
Removing the limiting beliefs that you have.
Yes. So reading a book on that, a lot about limiting beliefs or affirmations, that will actually help the growth process better to allow you to then attract the things to you to help you succeed.
And that's where I love like one of my top books is Think and Grow Rich because it is so many different stories all about that mindset, about how we, how we restrict ourselves. And the one that keeps me always is in the back of my mind is the 3 feet from gold. It's like, don't give up, Debbie. Just find different ways, but do not give up because you're almost there. You've done all this work, like to walk away and you're only 3 feet from that goal.
It's the overnight success that took 10 years to build.
Yes.
And the building starts within. Changing that internal environment so the external environment changes. Because we can think what we want all the time, but what are we thinking? I don't want this to happen. I don't want. So you're
Change it to what you want instead of what you don't want. Do you
yeah.
know, it's really weird because I was at one point when the interest rates went up and all these things. I did that. I had this fear of losing my home because my home is leveraged for all these investments. And I was like, I don't want to lose my home. I don't want to lose my home. And guess what happened? I lost my home in a fire. And I was like, Debbie, did you do this? Is it your, like, I was so fearful of losing my home that I ended up not the way I thought,
The way you thought you'd lose it, but
but I lost my home, right? But then the other aspect of it, I looked at it, I go, yeah, I lost my home, but I leveraged my home. So I still had 5 properties. So I didn't lose everything, right? I had 5 properties that I had used my home for. And so, yeah, but that was like really scary realization to me. I was so fearful of losing my home because these other properties were leveraged against it. And I ended up losing my home. Like, how is
what's the ripple effect that happened after that?
eh?
Isn't that amazing?
Yes, but then then I was like, okay, but it's again that in that thermostat. Like I had my home, so I had to get back to having that home. And so I worked hard and so yeah. And I was like, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to accept this, right? I'm not going to get this down. And I looked at it as an opportunity, a blank slate to create a more better home, something that I've always wanted, those kind of things. Yeah, so definitely. It really isn't. And even listening to this that thinks this is woo-woo, it really isn't. I can give you so many examples in my own life. But simple things, just being a parent, Kelly. Wasn't that a dream of yours?
So I have a stepchild, so I actually don't have my own children, and
Yeah.
that's actually something I never thought of having kids. I love kids. Now that my wife, her son, they have a granddaughter, and just seeing that, it's so different. But how would I have handled that 10 years ago compared to now? It's very interesting because most people will focus on who they are and what they have now or the past because that's all that they know.
Yeah.
And for new parents, and I can see the new parents what they're wanting to do for their kids, and then the parents of going, well, that's not how we did it. And it's like, you're right, it's not how you did it, but that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the
Times were
thing.
different.
Your life changes, and so your goals, and you should relook at those goals and those dreams in on a like a monthly, quarterly, 6 month like kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because like you said, the same thing like when reading the book, you're changing. There are things changing in your life. So the same thing I work with my clients on with their strategies. I say, you're not married to this. This is the strategy for you right now because you're what your life is right now. Maybe you've got young kids, maybe like those kind of things. But in like 5 years from now, or even a year from now, when you've got more time or you've got more money or, those things, or you've got less money, like,
Yeah.
when you're investing, when you start out, like I self-funded, but then I've leveraged it all now. So now, like,
It's
what's
so
your new
important.
strategy?
It's important to allow yourself to change your goal because I think sometimes we get so invested, like, oh man, I put so much time and effort in this and it's not working out. But that's okay because maybe it's really not what you want.
Don't change,
It's
don't change the dream, change the
change the way
goal,
you're doing it.
change the way, yeah, the how around getting to that dream.
Because even with jobs, people like, I hate my job and this, but they're too afraid to go start something new or look for something new because of the time and everything else that they've invested. But sometimes you would be happier if you left your current position.
Yes, you do. You actually do better.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah,
You know,
because
it's
when you're passionate about something, you will grow with it. You will do better at it than with something you're just doing because it's a job, it's other people are making me, think all of those kind of things.
I had this analogy with someone that sometimes maybe we spend so much money from our current employment because we actually don't like our job. So that paycheck we get is actually associated with something we don't like, so we spend it just to get rid of it. I'm like, wait.
That could be. That could be too. Yeah. There was one point when I was like, when I was doing real estate investing and I was working and I was like, how do I keep myself working when I don't want to be doing this? I want to be working on real estate. So again, I had to change my mindset that my job, those paychecks was actually getting me the real estate. It was getting me mortgages. It was getting me these things. So then it was like, it become more exciting. Yes, it's something because it's getting me to, where I want to go. I'm using it for what I'm passionate about. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So, what's next for Kelly? What do you want to do next?
What do I want to do next? Gosh, there's been so many things. Like my wife and I want to, we do want to build a retreat center and like a wellness center, but
Mhm.
I think it's actually not going to be a place. We want to help other people because we've started to connect with other people that have the same similar vision and stuff. So I'm like,
Mm,
why create something when we can collectively create something?
definitely. So you can have it in
So
several
have
separate.
it all over and just kind
Mhm.
of be input and connections for people. So I want to be able to actually help other people get to their dreams and goals through
Mhm.
strategies, connections, and networking.
So if anybody has a similar dream as Kelly's that's interested in, retreats and wellness centers, etc., reach out to Kelly. You never know. You can joint venture on, something together, partner on, both of you achieving that dream. Definitely. And so I will put into the into this podcast your contact information, your social media handles, etc., Kelly. So what would you go back and tell your younger self? Is there anything in particular you would go back and say to your younger self? Now
Allow yourself to be you, allow yourself to be unique and an individual, and don't follow what everybody else is doing.
that is very good advice.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Because we are all unique, and like, don't follow what everybody else is doing. Like, because again, it's like what we were saying, if you're passionate about something, you will achieve things in life because you're passionate about it. So my big thing is live your passion, build your legacy. So
That is
be your authentic self. Cool. So Kelly, thank you so much for being here. So many great nuggets around, but all of that, a lot of that is about, like you said, is inner work, it's mindset, it's changing the way you think about things. It's not how much you not how much you spend, but how much you save, how looking at not how much you earn, but can you save on those expenses, all of those kind of things, like looking at, how can you tweak your lifestyle a bit, or not, you don't necessarily have to change your lifestyle, but you can find other ways of doing it. And yeah, like, it's get excited about the money you save, because that is, again, it's net income. So you can either increase your revenue or you can decrease your expenses. So yeah, and protecting yourself, right? So I think a lot of us, when it comes to investing and insurance, we're like, oh, we don't have the money. But like you said, yet we have the money for all this consumer stuff that we do.
exactly.
So we need to kind of switch that, because if you're going to have a better lifestyle than you have today, you need to make some sacrifices right now.
Well, just making some shifts and making some changes. You can always have it back later on,
or have it in a different way.
or have it in a different way. Exactly.
Thank you so much for your time, Kelly. I really appreciated it. I thought this was going to be, and I'm sure people, when I introduced you, they probably thought this is going to be an insurance chat. This is going to be, more about how do you find your wealth in insurance. But, this was really about that mindset, which Kelly is very passionate about, changing that mindset. And then with that comes ways to protect yourself, ways to for tax planning, etc. Something you said to Kelly that I want to pull out is, I don't think everybody realizes that there's that disability credit, and everybody thinks of a disability as that I can't see, I can't hear, I can't walk, but there are certain illnesses that count as disability, and many people may have arthritis.
Yep. Arthritis.
Diabetes.
What about being in a car accident? Now you have chronic pain from that. There's certain
Fibromyalgia.
Fibromyalgia, MS, all of these conditions could be a potential payout. So it could be basically a tax credit on taxes you've already paid. So it's your money back. And then it allows for,
and now you've got that money that you got for that credit to invest.
exactly. So then we strategize and go, what do you want to do with this? How do you want to grow this? Are you of age? Can you get an RDSP? All of these different things. So it's being able to, where do you find the wealth?
Yep. So finding the wealth where you weren't using it, you didn't have it anyways, and now you have money that you can invest.
Exactly.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Really appreciate having you here, Kelly. We will include your contact information. So anyone wanting to reach out to Kelly, please do so. He loves to connect and help others. So reach out to Kelly, and we'll see you another time, Kelly, maybe on a different topic.
Sounds great. Love to. Thanks so much, everybody.
Bye, everyone. And don't forget to, if you like this podcast, hit that like button, put a comment on there, and subscribe so that you can continue to get notifications when I drop other podcasts that will be able to help you to, with maybe it's different strategies that people are doing that you can learn from, or it's, experts like Kelly and others that can help you in your journey. Bye. Debbie and Kelly out.